another glorious day to be thankful and grateful and so many other words that you can use to show that the things that we normally overlook, that they are not taken for granted anymore. Today I want to talk about self-reflection. I want to share a little bit about why I self-reflect and the things what make you self-reflect, the different barriers and obstacles and all type of things that we go through as an individual and that we go through as people. The story that I'm gonna share with you, it's a true story, and I self-reflect on it a lot because ideally it helped me be the person that I am today. I remember before 2000, I used to be in prison doing this and doing that, reading all the urban novels, reading things of a life that I've lived in the streets prior to my incarceration. And it was a brother, a very beautiful brother, and I never forget about the brother, even though he has passed before I came home. This brother, I used to look at this brother every day. Every day, he was suited and booted, a very respectful brother, but I knew he was a brother that came from the streets because I heard the other homies talking about him. And I'm gonna tie all of this into why I self-reflect from the things that come from me and the things that I hope to become and the person that I eventually, seek to become and the things I tend to seek to achieve. Well, anyway, to go back to the story, I used to see the brother all the time. He was very respectful, very respected brother. And the brother started just sparked up a conversation with me one day. And he was like, brother, I see you walking around. I see you, how the younger generation or the younger population of brothers, they drift towards you. And you talk to them, you always encourage them. You always tell them, overlook the battles in order to win a war and things of that nature that I had to learn as an individual. And anyway, he started the conversation with me and started bringing me all kind of different books to read and different literature because he saw me reading urban novels. He was like, how much time you got in prison? I was like, I got 22 years in prison. He was like, and what's your charge? And I told him conspiracy to distribute crack cocaine. And he was like, but every time I see you read urban novels, street novels, things of that nature, not saying that those books are bad books because, everybody's entitled to read what they want to read, but I'm just telling you about my story. But anyway, he was like, brother, sometimes in order to be a different person and to not drift toward the lifestyle that you live, you have to feed your mind with different things. And so after that conversation, he gave me that jewel and then he peeled out, just left. Come back the next day. How you doing, brother? Sat there and chopped it up with me, gave me a nice conversation, an intellectual conversation, a lot of things that we lack within the prison industry. And he was like, brother, I want you to read this book. I was like, man, I don't read them kind of books, historical books and things that, like intellectual books, things that I have no knowledge of. And he was like, brother, that's why you need to read the book. He said, because when you read the book and you feed the mind different information, he said, therefore, when you get out into the free world, you won't make the same mistakes. He said, because your mind and your mental will be on a different level, and therefore, you won't think like you thought prior to prison, and you won't conduct and carry yourself prior to the way you came to prison. And when he dropped me those jewels, I never looked at those things in that shape, form, or fashion. So I started reading different books. And before you know it, I started speaking differently. I started conducting myself differently. I started being more respectful. I started being more courteous. And all of those things that I just mentioned, I didn't see the transformation and me evolving into the person that I am today. When I used to speak to family members in there doing time, they used to tell me all the time, man, you talking good, man, you changing or whatever. But, in the back of their mind, they just thinking that may be some prison talk and things of that nature, because I understand that part, because a lot of times brothers talk a good game in prison and they come out of prison, but they don't do exactly what they say that they were gonna do. So oftentimes I self-reflect. And the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of times we need to self-reflect as a people, as an individual, whether you be in relationships, whether you be going into entrepreneurial business ventures, things of that nature. You need to always self-reflect. I used to tell the youngsters all the time. They used to be like, man, what is this? What is that? What is self-reflection? Man, I ain't got nothing to do with the old people, man. Them old people, I ain't got nothing to do with it. I'm living for the day, man. I was like, you know what? I get that part. But I'm going to say, let me tell you something. You have to think about what happened prior to your becoming who you are, or the individual that you are at this particular time, because you have to learn those valuable mistakes and the things that they achieved and the things that they accomplished from an ancestral standpoint. A lot of times we will go through life making the same mistakes if we don't have a blueprint or a guidebook or something that would teach us in a different direction than we would normally be taught. Our ancestors went through a lot of stuff. Our ancestors was in the civil rights movement. Our ancestors went through being bitten by dogs and a variety of violent acts where they were taught to be humble during those violent acts because they felt that at that time, that was the only way something was going to be achieved. So I always self-reflect. The reason I have to self-reflect because they say sometimes you have to make your next move your best move. I'm going to repeat that. They say sometimes you have to make your next move your best move. The reason they say that is because a lot of times time is of the essence. When time is of the essence, you don't have no time for lollygagging. You don't have no time for sport and play. I'm talking about you have time for that sometimes, but a lot of times you have to put a lot of that stuff on the back burner, because if you don't put that stuff on the back burner, how can you move forward? How can you stay motivated? How can you stay encouraged? A lot of times you have to stay motivated and encouraged because a lot of times you're going to find yourself by yourself. You got to learn to stay motivated and encouraged, because when you're in the deepest and the darkest moments that you may find yourself in, who is going to be there to pull yourself up? If you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and a lot of times you know that I'm telling the truth, because a lot of times when you look for other people, or when I used to look for other people to give me guidance and give me strength and give me encouragement to make it out of a circumstance or a situation, there was nowhere to be found. So you have to self-reflect. You have to learn from people of your past. Don't keep letting people in your life where they ain't meaning you no harm. Don't keep being around people who, for the most part, they're not talking positive. They always got something negative to say. How can you be around a person who doesn't think along the same wavelength that you think along? If I'm a positive person, I have to self-reflect and be around people who are of a positive nature. It's just like when I was selling drugs. When I was running at cars, I was around other people who ran in cars. When I started dealing in weight and doing this and doing that, I started gravitating people who was doing more than what I was doing or on the same wavelength that I was on. And you always have to self-reflect, because it touches those pieces inside of you where you'll be able to share with your child. You'll be able to share with your grandchild. You'll be able to share with your little brother. You'll be able to share with your little sister. You'll be able to share with your big brother, your big sister. Because if I'm holding a group and I'm around a variety of different people, and a variety of different people don't have a variety of different ideas, that's something that you need to question from within yourself. Because if you're saying that you're going toward being a better person, or you want to be an entrepreneur, or you want to be a businessman, or you want to be this and that, well, why am I a businessman but I'm hanging around people who dealing drugs? Why am I a businessman and I'm not trying to be around like-minded people? I'm around somebody who's all they talk about is sport and playing video games. And I'm not a judgmental person, so I'm not judging nobody, because the same things that I speak about are some of the same things that I used to do. But just like from the Bible into the Quran, it tells you, and it tells you in different translations. It always tells you, when you was a child, you thought as a child, you behaved as a child. But when you become a man or a woman, you have to put away those childish things. The reason you have to put away those childish things is because with a child and a mind frame, and a child like a character and composure, how can I say that I'm an adult and I'm striving to have the things that an adult wants? An adult wants a house. An adult wants a good job. An adults want those things that children aren't really programmed, or they aren't on their wavelength to think like, because they are a child, they are an adolescent. It's just like I spoke about the translation. When you become a child, when you become a man and you go to that point where you don't supposed to think like that, you don't think like that. Don't do the same thing where when I was 18 and I'm 35 and I'm 36 and you still doing the same thing. That speaks volumes about your character. That speaks volumes about the things that I say and how I conduct myself, how I carry myself, how I articulate myself. You got to be around somebody who won't give you them Jews, like I spoke about the brother in prison who gave me them Jews. Because I didn't see myself growing into the person. I didn't see myself loving somebody who I don't know. I didn't see myself just running to help people and aid them because I know they wasn't of a frame of mind to aid and help themselves. I didn't never see all of that. But the reason I tell you this is because if we want to be a better person, if you want to be a stronger person, if you want to be a like-minded person, and knowing that we're surrounded by so many things of a negative standpoint, so many things that are portrayed on TV and so many different portrayals on TV, when you get that snippets of information and it's something that's just readily and on a consistent basis just diluted in your mind, diluted in your mind, diluted in your mind, that's all you know. Oh, I look at reality shows all day. That's all you know for the most part. If you're going to look at reality shows, and I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with that. But the reason I'm saying this is because I would be less of a man, I would be less of an individual and person who says he shows caring and concern not to give you that information. When I come out here and share snippets of information, it's not to better me. It's to give the information because I know I'm a respected individual and I know that people show caring and concern to me, and they know that I'm not just going to say anything just to say it. They know that I'm not just going to put information out there in the atmosphere just to put information out there. I'm putting information in the atmosphere. It's because I believe in karma. I believe in when you go around in a circle, it comes back in a positive manner. If you're a positive individual and you're going around in a circle, it comes back in a positive. Do you have those negative catatones? Do you have those negative experiences? Of course. But when you look at it and you're a knowledgeable person, those situations and those circumstances that deal with a negative variety will only be very, very minute. One thing about it, they're going to be very minute because if you believe in the atmosphere, and it's just like the laws of gravity, what goes up must come down. It's the same thing. If you treat people kindly, you treat people caring, and you show caring and concern and you're a respectful person, 9 times out of 10, even if a person don't see you and they looking at you from an observant standpoint from far away, and they see you conducting yourself and saying yes sir, even if you don't say yes sir, just being respectful, being kind and courteous, 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, that's how somebody gonna approach you. That's how somebody gonna address you. It's the same thing for young ladies. If you're a young lady, carry and conduct yourself as a young lady. Therefore, a brother, even though in those small snippets of approaches where some of those brothers who don't know any better may approach you with disrespect, for the most part, the people who are going to approach you, they're going to approach you with respect. And it's the same thing for the young brothers. It's the same thing. If you're going to want to be respected, you got to give respect. You can't be disrespectful when I'm walking around and I'm puffing my chest out and doing all this kind of stuff and think that everybody's just going to respect you when you can't conducting and carrying yourself in a disrespectful manner. It just don't work like that, because what one person going to let slide, one person going to baptize you with it. Let me repeat that. One person going to let you slide and the next person going to give you your issue. So why even go in that lane of giving you your issue when you should be on the path of trying to be a good father, a good brother, a good son, or whatever you aspire to be? Always think along those lines. Always reach deep within yourself, because like I said, a lot of times you're going to be by yourself. Always learn to love yourself, so therefore when you're showing a genuine care and concern for yourself and you loving yourself, that you can love your brother. It ain't nothing just coming out your mouth. It ain't just words. Words is just very important. Words move mountains. And you notice that words move mountains, just like it causes people to do all kind of crazy stuff. Just know that you love, man. And love yourself. Every time I come, you already know. It's a peace and blessing thing. Salute.